Tristana. This is typically the trade that we see. The top tier 1 in terms of AD carries, I would say, are between Kai'Sa and Tristana. And if you're giving over Tristana this early, it typically means that you have something lined up. We have seen things like the Karthus going straight onto LGD. Whoa. That's interesting.
Oh, and we didn't even realize Flora is playing and not Quay. So it is going to be sub there. But this is what Rare Adam did to be able to catch out FPX. They take away Karthus for Flora. Beichuan is going to go on to this Udyr instead of going towards the normal AP junglers that Beichuan likes to play typically. And it's a little bit more about farming up, trying to keep up with that Karthus.
Yeah, that's so interesting to see. Like, Karthus in the LPL is very... it's feast or famine in the sense that you can die a lot of times early game and just be completely relegated and just not be impactful. But when you get to the late game, it's also super powerful. So LGD are trying to balance out two sides, basically. They're having some insurance policy in Flora while trying to counterpick this bottom lane, as we talked about. And they do have the pick to do so. Lucian is one of the few lanes that actually can punish Tristana early on. And it also could be a surprise flex for Uniboy as well. So we're going to see where this one actually lands up. But for now, LGD are going to take away Seraphine. Just way too strong of a champion. We already see Doinb going into that one. And in the meantime, FPX it looks like they want to counterpick for Nuguri. I think it's going to be very important for FPX's late game successes if they want to go later into the game. I think it has to come from Nuguri, and this is what they're doing. They're taking away the blind picks in Gragas, in Renekton, and Sion and Camille. So they're basically forcing LGD to kind of show their cards. LGD, they typically like to pick their top laner before their mid laner in their draft. FPX definitely aren't reading this very well, and they're saying, you know what, we're going to have a counter pick against Cult.
Gonna make it a little bit easier as, like you mentioned before, Lucian could be flexed around. We're not exactly sure if it's going to be into Kramer's hands. I'd expect that to be the case. You talked before how LGD need to be able to have this Tristana pinpointed, how they want to be able to play into it, and putting it bot lane for Kramer to be able to deal with Lwx is going to be their best bet. Try to be able to take over this lane, especially since they got chances. Rell. They got the champion that he has not lost yet here in the LPL on, and that is something that gives them this hard engage that they can try to catch out of position. Even if Lwx is able to flash away rocket jump, you can still get that to lock down this Tristana quick enough.
Yeah, this is super spicy from LGD. I love their draft ideas coming out. LGD, they are a team that likes to scrap a lot in the early game. They're a very high action sort of team coming into this. And in the meantime, FPX are doing something rather different. They are going for the late game. This is a very tame draft for FPX standards. They're saying, you know what, we need to shore up our late game in this patch. We're going to try to experiment against LGD. They're drafting the only control mage in Doinb's roster right here in the Viktor and the Tristana early on. So a very different draft than we're used to from FPX, but given that they are going up against the bottom 5, I think it's warranted to try things out a little bit more. On LGD's side, they are going for early aggression. Zoe is one of Uniboy's best champions. It definitely has early priority against the Viktor. And then in the bottom side, you also have Lucian against the Tristana, which they specifically drafted for by banning away the Kai'Sa. And we're going to see how that works out. Can LGD actually get priority with these counter picks?
They're going to try to, at least. They're going to try to be able to get these solo laners ahead, utilize the fact that they're going to have this pressure from the 1-3-1 where Karthus eventually will be set up to be able to carry it to the late game if it lasts long enough. But of course, we're going to see how FPX play in this mid game. Even though they have these elements to go late, we know that they like to play for that early game.
Yeah, that's why I'm not really sure about this Karthus pick. I think Karthus doesn't actually help your bot lane prio early game. Like he's not gonna do anything. Let's be honest, pretty 6, and he's up against the Udyr, which I actually like LGD's mid and bot lane counter picks, but I'm not sure this Karthus actually fits with what they want to do by overrunning LGD early. I think it's an insurance policy where you're kind of go big or go home with the other picks.
At least that's what they're going to attempt and hope that they can get some. I would imagine they're going to try to see if they can get Kramer ahead in that bot lane. Colt maybe holding his own against Nuguri Jayce top side. Because as long as they can have some of their lanes ahead, some of their lanes in a position to be able to get them through the mid game or get them through some of these earlier fights, doesn't matter if the Karthus isn't able to do much early on. Eventually, he's just going to do what Karthus does.
I do want to point out from the runes that we have Uniboy on super aggressive summoners. Usually it is a spell book. About 80% of the time it is a spell book, but Uniboy is going for both Electrocute and the Ignite. So this is an all-in Zoe player. This is not, there's no fallback options on this, and this is also why I'm a little bit skeptical about the Karthus. I feel like if you're going to go this all-in, I would actually have preferred an early game jungler, as we are going to see LGD try to get a good trade.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Rell level 1 versus an Alistar level 1, all you need to do is pulverize and immediately knock up, so there's not even going to be that charge in that Rell can try to land onto Lwx as long as Crisp is always on top of this Tristana. Should be a relatively safe lane until Kramer wants to go in, being able to get that level 2 advantage.
Yeah, this is a very strong kill lanes from both sides. Actually, I wouldn't put it 100% in favor of Lucian to just stomp this Tristana.
No.
But we did see the potential poke coming out from Kramer. You might not be able to get the crash down to work, but Piercing Light is very strong in this lane. There's very little that Tristana can do to actually avoid it. Early on, her attack range starts at 550. You're going to take a lot of poke. That dash in from Lucian, very, very potent as well. So we should be seeing LGD with a bit of an advantage here. And also in this mid lane, Uniboy, I think he's going to be looking for early kills in the side lanes. He does have that minion dematerializer, and with the Electrocute plus Ignite combo, it's actually fairly easy for him to roam away from this Viktor and just get a kill on Nuguri or Lwx.
You can hear the sirens in the background for Clement. So someone's trying to make an arrest here in this game. Might be Uniboy trying to go rotate around the map, make a play. It's okay. We all know it's online, so anyone out there, we're doing our best with the setups that we have. It's just how life is at the moment. We all see it. For you, you know, it's during the day. For me here in California, it's 1:23 in the morning, and we're in for a long night for me.
Yeah, a long night of exciting games at the very least.
Exactly.
So you've got that going for you. FPX so far, they have gone into the top side already. They do have priority over with that Jayce versus the Aatrox matchup. So I do expect that Beichuan might be looking for some kills onto Karthus if he ever gets a chance. Remember, Udyr is one of our strongest meta early game junglers we have right now. He's actually at 69% in the LPL as for win rates, so very impressive there. And with Jayce just constantly shoving in Cult, I definitely think that we are going to be seeing some more tabs being paid towards that top side, as we do see the pings come out onto Flora.
I like that ward that was placed down by Uniboy to be able to spot out Beichuan here, going on to the chicken, so they at least are going to be able to keep tabs on the jungle. Unfortunately, it was reciprocated, as you can see. Flora spotted out completely, so both junglers' positions are going to be well known as they try to power farm as much as they can. And for Udyr, it doesn't really matter, level 1 to level whatever, as long as he has Bear Stance, runs done, job done. But for Flora, being able to get that Requiem to be able to be much more of a threat, so even if you do die running it down, you're still going to be able to impact these fights a lot. As Uniboy was spotted out, scared away by Beichuan, not going to be able to get that gank topside like you would have wanted.
Yeah, this is what Uniboy definitely wants to do, but unfortunately, I think FPX were very aware of the possibility for that Zoe gank to come in, as we have Chance going in.
And flashed for that one as well. Not going to really be able to get too much, but that's the thing. When you have Hex Flash, who cares if you're burning Flash early on? You're always going to be able to dash forward and not be interrupted necessarily, even with your crash down, since you're going to have that dash. You're going to have that ability to pretty much supersede what you need to jump on top of Lwx, try to force out that flash, force out that heal, but unfortunately wasn't able to do so just yet. All the while, Flora going to be able to take that objective first. Might be spotted out by Beichuan. It could be a smite fight. No, they're just going to back off. They're not even going to bother with it. They're going to let him have it and say, all right, we are a little bit late on the draw.
Yep, this is exactly what we expect out of Uniboy on the Zoe. because he does have priority over the Viktor early game. You can get sort of these plays going, and the entire bot side from LGD should be expected to be a little bit stronger. In the meantime, though, this is Doinb starting to outscale. Like, he's coming back to base with the CS lead already. He's got his cheater recall in with the tier already ticking. So LGD's composition, this is what I call a complementary draft style, where you have some late game, you have some early game, but it generally means that your power spikes are not going to be aligned, and you don't have a particularly strong phase on either side. So we're not going to see Flora get anything done just yet, or Zoe, but Chance is heading towards the top lane.
I like this play. I always love seeing when supports leave lane early on, especially if you know there's not really much reason for the jungle to be on the bottom half of the map. With Dragon gone, the next objective is going to be that Rift Herald when it spawns soon, so you might as well start rotating around early. Get some ward control around that pit so that you're going to be the first one to be able to get that, take it away from Beichuan, and possibly be able to open up one of these lanes. I'd love them to be able to pop down that Rift Herald bot lane if LGD are able to manage that objective.
No, it's definitely a good timing coming out here from Chance. There's, like you said, nothing really to be done in the bottom side. The wave is just pushing in. So great roam timing on his side. And I think we are going to get into the spicier phases of the game. As Flora has already ticked over to level 6, we do have the Requiem online. And Beichuan, this could be fairly easy dive coming in.
Yeah, look at that. He tried to pop the World Ender, trying to be able to escape from this battle, but the Shock Blast flashed away by Colt to be able to survive. But you know, runs done, job done, first blood for Beichuan.
I see like everyone is taking the Jake. The Jake call from Udyr. He should charge for that. We're all doing it. I'm doing it in the PCS too.
Hey, so don't tell him that, because that might be expensive for me.
Oh, it could be, it could be. Jake is a super generous guy. Easy gank coming into that. They have full taps on the top side. That Krugs has been warded for almost 3 rotations right now. Not really much that Colt could do about that one. And even with Chance's roam to the top side, top lane still falls. Herald goes down. This is going to be first tower almost instantly for FPX.
Good though, Uniboy. Let's see if we can find out Beichuan. Gotta be careful, because on the other side, Doinb was able to scare him away. Was able to put down the wall. But it is still the objective secured by FPX. Colt now spotting out that Nuguri doesn't have much mana, so gonna be able to at least chase him away for a bit, but you still gotta be a bit careful. You are behind this Jayce at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that chase in coming in from Colt. He probably thinks that, hey, well, you know, Nuguri's just going back, which actually makes that trade even worse, but we're going to see Uniboy trying to claw something back a little. We could see FPX was very aware of the burst potential, so Beichuan will actually flash early. Flash early to avoid damage, because you can't avoid the Requiem.
Smart call, but boring, because Flash is an offensive summoner spell. It should always be used offensively, at least in my opinion. But then again, there's a reason why I'm on, you know, the talking side and not the playing side, you know. Right now, Uniboy got to be a bit careful on that recall. Wanted to be able to get a pretty cheeky recall there, but unfortunately, Crisp, Beichuan, trying to assert some dominance and even popping the Rift Herald mid lane. The one lane where it did seem like LGD had a bit of an advantage because that Zoe was able to at least keep up with Doinb on that push control, so they're trying to at least wrestle some of it away.
Yeah, this is pretty brutal coming out from FPX. They're not going for the early money build by just dropping the Herald top lane. Instead, they're going to let Colt suffer. They know there's nothing this Aatrox can actually do, so they're just going to play the zone away game and probably treat him as an ATM further on. This is another very ripe dive opportunity for them going forward. And like you said, it's just punishing Uniboy. I want to mention about the mid lane builds. This is why I feel like kill lane mids don't really work right now. That Verdant Barrier is just so cost efficient, and once that item pops, Uniboy just can't deal damage to Doinb anymore. And FPX are gonna just cash out on this top lane, keeping Colt completely zoned out and putting in even deeper hole.
And that's the thing that's wild with that play, is the fact that look at how much gold they were able to get for Doinb. Look at how much gold they're able to get for Nuguri without even having to pop the Rift Herald top lane. Because they have such a lead, like you mentioned, Beichuan kind of just hanging out, chilling over there, being like, all right, I'm going to set up a little tent over here because all I want is to be able to withdraw a little bit of funds from this ATM in the top side.
Yeah, he's already sitting at 33 CS. The Eclipse is going to be done, and with the extra sustain item this far on, there's not really much that Cult can do. And really, I feel like this jungler choice, even though it's a good takeaway from Beichuan, I feel like LGD kind of messed up on their only opportunity to win the game. We haven't seen anything actually come out from their bottom side priority. Now this Drake is a good idea, but they have to get some kills.
They gotta be careful. They don't have TP on Colt anytime soon. As you can see, the Chaos Sword was able to rip apart Chance, and they essentially just leashed the Cloud Dragon for the side of FPX.
Thank you very much, says FPX, and that poke nearly finds Chance. It actually does find Chance.
Oh, it clipped them. That was so close.
Oh. That's just absolutely brutal. Sorry for cutting you off. We might be having a little bit delay right here, so we're kind of like
oh, it's totally fine.
Syncing up just a little bit. But that was a play LGD 100% needed to make work. Like, there is no coming back on Kramer and Uniboy. So if you can't get the first Drake play to work, and Requiem still hasn't been used right now to further their team, I just feel like they're just going to give up at all 3 turrets at this point, and the gold lead is going to balloon very easily to 7k.
And essentially now LGD have to fall back onto the Karthus plan. It's the insurance policy, sure, but you want Uniboy and Kramer to be the ones to have gotten a fairly large lead early into the game, and they haven't been able to do so. Even here, you can see Doinb, he took a battle start and like, all right, cool. The verdant barrier, the green necklace, is enough to be able to mitigate most of that damage.
Yeah, and this is sort of my issue with it, but LGD, they basically bought themselves insurance for chronic diseases when they're not expected to live past 25. So I'm not sure this insurance is gonna get them the win. However, they're gonna try.
Chance is trying to make something happen, but got blown up for it, and that turret so low. Pretty much one repeat play comes in from FPX. They can sneeze on the turret, and they're going to be able to cash in on that gold soon. So they just take a simple kill on Chance, back out of there, get vision control all around this bottom quadrant of the map, and don't really need to take the turret just yet.
Yeah, and this bot lane is completely unguarded on the other side. Nuguri, I don't think he wants to take that full trade with the Prowler's Claw picked up by Uniboy. But in the meantime, just look at where Kramer actually has to pick up his farm. He needed to defend the mid lane turret, potentially use the culling even, and that just leaves the bot side wide open. So none of the counter picks actually working out on LGD's side. They're both down by about 20 CS, and in comes FPX with the better scaling composition. This is not something that we are typically used to seeing on FPX, but it's a great time to try against LGD.
When we take a look at this replay, and Chance, I feel like just was too quick on the draw. Nobody else could follow up.
Yeah, Doinb with a great play there, dropping the gravity field so Flora couldn't actually chase up on that play. Flora even burns the flash to try and get into position. That was a massive loss, and it just means that FPX can walk in on those turrets right now. Take a look at that turret plating. It's 15-1. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Rough. It's really rare to see something like that. That is not something you want to see if you're hoping for that miracle run out of LGD. But right now, Flora, double knockup comes in from Crisp. Huge play to be able to get the flash in for Beichuan. They've got the double kill out of this rookie jungler. They might be able to get more as Kramer underneath the turret dies. 3 kills for FPX. This game is looking too clean so far.
Well, this looks like it's already done and dusted. Uniboy has to escape from this one, but they're closing in on him from 3 different angles.
Yeah, was able to get the sleepy trouble bubble, but like you said, where do you gotta go? I mean, Colt's all the way on the bottom half of the map. Cooldowns are gonna come up in time for Beichuan to continue this chase. You have Flash to be able to get over the wall. Colt is nearby, but might just give up his own life. He's a little too late to be able to help Uniboy as he was bursted down.
Nuguri just with the finishing touches on this one. And taking a look at the items here, I'm trying to think of a scenario where LGD could potentially get something back. They are just so far behind. Uniboy not even at his first item at this point, and it's going to be another Herald for FPX to just drop and sort of peel this game away. I think there's so many different ways that FPX can play this. They can play it slow, they can play 1-3-1. Everything is on the table. Chris just with such a clean engage over the wall, double knock up as FPX are trying to get a skirmish started on this second Herald. They all in on the chance, but I feel like FPX just had a better setup.
They did. And the thing is, you were talking about how FPX, it's an uncharacteristic draft from them. You know, more scaling, waiting it out a bit, but we all knew they weren't going to play that way. And you can see, like, sure, they played a bit slower in the early game, but that's just like a bit. Once they knew that they had some sort of power, especially when you look at how far ahead Nuguri is in that top lane. Nearly 3,000 gold separates the top laners. That means, of course, they can play aggressively early. They can utilize this Jayce to annihilate anybody on LGD.
And it just was reading LGD so well. Even LGD, though LGD was on the red side, they knew that they weren't going to give Cult the counter pick. That's how LGD drafts. It's either Uniboy or Kramer getting the counter. So they were very willing to just ban things out, ban safe top laners out, and let Nuguri just pick the Jayce into the Aatrox. Great matchup from him. Just putting the finishing touches here, and Kramer just wants to play for his own gold.
Flashed away, but they're trying to see if they can follow up Uniboy, who has to be able to get back to his own base. As you can see, Rift Herald popped mid lane. Here comes the second one, gonna be able to get a charge onto the inhibitor turret here. 17.5 minutes, Clement. We are that early into this game, and it is 6-0, a massive lead. What is that, 9,000 gold for FPX already?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely the way they played with that outer turret and just keeping the turrets that they could take through the laners alive, using the Herald on the mid lane. That was really smart from them, a super brutal play, and I just don't think LGD actually played all in enough in their early game. I feel like this is a draft where they actually needed to get a lot of early action going. We never saw a Requiem on the bot lane with the kill lane. We never even saw Uniboy link up with Kramer to try to find those early kills to allow them to establish dominance. And, you know, without risking anything in the early game, I felt like they just fell way too far behind.
See, one of my issues with how some people play Karthus is when you have a Karthus, it is okay if you die a few dozen times. You just go straight at the opponents as many times as you can, because all you really want are those dark harvest stacks, those juicy stacks, so you can have these Requiems that do a lot of damage. Right now, Colt fighting with Nuguri. Oh, look at that health coming back. Requiem gonna be able to, oh, Colt, you gotta give over the Requiem kill over to Flora so you can be able to get another stack, but now Colt in a bad spot. Didn't see the damage coming in from Doinb. They're going to be able to get the trade of the top laner. So sure, it was a solo kill for Colt, but they do lose the life as well.
That was pretty insane from Colt. He didn't even have his stride breaker there, and actually he did. That was a cooldown coming just back up. But, you know, with how far Nuguri was ahead in that matchup, he did not expect himself to actually die, even with the Requiem coming down. So, good play by them. LGD is finally going to claw themselves a kill back onto the board. The question is just at what cost?
Exactly. Losing a tier 2 turret in the bot lane, have no control over the bottom quadrant of the map. Look at these control wards too, how deep they are into enemy territory. So when you take a look at this replay, I feel like Nuguri just felt like that Eclipse was going to keep him too safe.
Yeah, the Eclipse shield already was used here, and Nuguri still stayed in melee range. Even used the Thundering Blow, even used the To the Skies to get onto Aatrox. Not exactly the distance you want to play in, and he paid with his life. I think that was Nuguri having fun. That was more of like a damage test out from the Jayce rather than like a serious trade. There's no way that should be the way you play it.
I don't know exactly how much gold he was holding on to prior to that as well. He might have been sitting on like a good 1,500. And that could, remember, we were talking about how massive his lead was over Colt. So if you're holding about half that lead in your pocket, that means you're not going to really have that as powerful of a 1v1 fight. But right now, it is the Dragon started off by FPX. LGD want to be able to get in a position. Colt does have TP. chance. Locking down at least one, trying to see if they can take out Nuguri. He flashed away to be able to survive. The Ignite is ticking, looking for the Chalk Blast. Not going to be able to connect. But look at Flora on the other side, dying. No steal. Tried. So close. But now they have to scatter. Have to be able to escape. Colt has found Lwx, but the Buster Shot was able to knock him back over to Beichuan, looking for the Bear Slap to be able to get the stun. And now Nuguri has respawned in this entire fight to be able to get the assassination onto Chance, getting a lot of damage onto Colt as well. He will fall in the fight, with Nuguri continuing to play aggressively. Gotta be careful because Kramer nearly took you down. Looking for the snipe coming in from Uniboy. Gonna be able to get it, but they're gonna lose everyone else. It is gonna finally be the ace coming in for FPX. They have the minions already pushing in mid from Doinb. That is gonna be game one.
1-for-5 trade in the very end, and this might be the fastest game so far in the LPL. We're not even at the 22-minute mark. This is amazing. I didn't expect this out of LGD, but a very, very clean and textbook win for FPX.
They did this game very well done indeed. Able to get a very quick victory. I would like to see if we could get that stat while we're on the break, see if that is one of the fastest games that we've had this split, because what was that, 21.5 minutes, being able to get over LGD, a composition that LGD drafted to try to win that early game as well. It is a rough loss for sure.
Yep, LGD, I like the ideas for these mid and solo lane, but I'm just not sure the Karthus pick was worth it. I feel like Karthus was too much of a takeaway rather than something that slotted well into their composition. And like we said, like you don't buy cancer insurance for yourself if you plan on dying at 25. So that's just kind of what happened there. It's a bit tragic. Good ideas from LGD. Just didn't like the staggered draft, and they didn't go all in enough in the early game. They had one or two opportunities, and I felt like Chance sort of blundered them in that mid-game fight. So FPX take it in stride. Very smooth game coming out from them. Great idea to play around Nuguri. They know the draft patterns from LGD, and they just all in onto that Jayce lane.
Also, I do feel like LGD had these opportunities in the early game to play a bit more risky. And while some can argue like, yeah, that's really hard though for a team who are kind of in this position to hope for a miracle run to be able to get back into playoffs, and one mistake early would cost them the entire game. But that's also where I'd make the argument, make those risky plays. You gotta bet it all now, otherwise you're not even gonna have a shot.
Yeah, they definitely should have went a little bit, I wanted to see some more coordination, and for me, this gameplay should have been all in bot lane. Like, even if you give up a tower just to get a kill, that should definitely be on the cards. Unfortunately, they never got the chance to really do that. We saw one roam from Uniboy going top lane, didn't get the kill, and since the top lane collapsed that early, like, Kramer was actually pulled into other lanes to help wave clear. So they never really got the chance. There were some good ideas here, no execution, and look at Nuguri's damage. He actually did more damage than the entire top side from LGD combined.
That's nuts. Yeah, he was in a good position as Jayce. When you get a Jayce that's able to snowball, even if it's not like the olden days when it was the full lethality build, he's got a good amount of lethality. And when you don't have that many tank members on LGD, I mean, only really Chance is going to be that front line that's going to be able to absorb a lot of that damage that he's able to output. So it's going to work out well for FPX.
True. This is what I want to see out of FPX, them experimenting with how they want to play the future patches, especially 11.4 that even slows things down even more. So I like this idea here. Test it out against, let's be honest, a bit of a weaker opponent in the schedule, and see how he can do with it. Also, Nuguri having a great game here is exactly what we wanted to see. He has to pick up a lot of the missing damage, I think, from Doinb's more early mid-game centric picks, and this is a good chance for him to try to strut his stuff and try to play with the counter picks.
Agreed. It was a very well played game by FPX to get game one over LGD. For now, though, we're going to toss it to a break. When we come back. Game